When a very educated and articulate Spanish nun, just at the period that monastic life was beginning for women, ascetic life and communities, came to Jerusalem. It was in the almost the year 400, just late 300s. And she wrote in her sort of travelogue what she saw going on in Jerusalem. And she said they had a practice of Lent in Jerusalem. Now, and interestingly enough, it lasted 8 weeks. And if you count that, that's 56 days. But you see, they didn't count Saturday and Sunday. So it was still a 40-day Lent. And during that Lent, she reports that they read special passages from the Gospel of John and tells us about Lazarus Saturday, that there was a special Saturday set aside for the reading of Lazarus. And so it tells us, first of all, that Lent is very old. Presumably there's a historical basis to all of this. But still, as sort of speculating, I say, now, why did John develop a story about a Samaritan woman as the most key story, in a sense, for this very important contact with Jesus? Why didn't he take a Jew? Why didn't he take a man? Because Samaritans and women had a particular offense here. Samaritans and Jews fought about the same God and hated one another over it. Samaritans tried to block the rebuilding of the Jewish temple. The Jewish high priest led an army up to Samaria and burned their temple. They had killed one another over these issues, so they hated one another. But particularly in Jewish tradition, they hated Samaritan women because, you see, they were in the same land. And while Jewish men would be unlikely to marry a Gentile woman, a goy, they might marry a Samaritan woman on the grounds that a Samaritan woman at least believed in the same God. So it was a temptation. And the rabbis had all sorts of uncomplimentary attitudes about the Samaritan women. In ritual impurity, women are impure at certain times. Samaritan women were impure from birth. All of this antipathy toward Samaritan woman. So here's a woman, Samaritan, she says, you, a Jewish man, you want to drink from me, a Samaritan woman? She has a chip on her shoulder about this fellow, and a well-deserved chip. Now, to me, that's psychologically very important. You see, there might have been a time when you could come up to people and say, I want to talk to you about God because I got something very good to give you. People would say, oh, I'm delighted. I want to hear about God. I don't think that's where most people are today. In a sense, they've heard about God. Sometimes you turn on the television on Sunday, and the first thing you come to a preacher, a lot of times say, oh, God, let's get another station. And they're suspicious about God. And a lot of times they ask hard questions, and I think we ought to recognize that. People say, well, God is good. People say, well, wait a minute. Now, I'm born of a very poor family. Maybe my parents weren't married. Maybe my father left the family and the kids. Why is it, if God is so good, why wasn't I born in a nice, happy family with parents that stayed together? I was born deformed. Why was I? If God is so good, why do I have to have this deformity? Or parents, I lost a child, a baby. If God is so good, why did I lose my baby? And so people have a lot of grudges against God, because they look on everything in life as if they talk about God as a personal relationship, and if God is so good, why